So I flew over to Ireland beginning of the year to make this financial mistake. So should we see if it's still worth it or whether I've made a terrible mistake? Ginger Giles is here to pick me up. There was no O-ring on the intake temperature sensor. So that is... A few months ago I flew to Northern Ireland to buy this L405 Range Rover. Since then I've driven it across Europe, taken it around the Nürburgring, repaired it more than once, and at one point I genuinely wasn't sure if it was going to make it home. So after everything this car has put me through, was it actually worth it? Welcome back to the channel. If you've been around for a while, you know I'm not afraid of buying a Range Rover, or 8, this being the 8th one. Mainly, to be fair, I've had 4 L322s, so I'm pretty used to a bit of luxury, usually on a budget by the time I get them. Eventually I decided, why not upgrade? Why not get something nice? So I ended up flying over to Northern Ireland, meeting a mate, and picking up this one, because distance wasn't really an issue, to be honest. It was, I wanted the right vehicle. I wanted a vehicle that I could keep for a while, I could look after, and I could enjoy. And ideally a vehicle that would treat me well. So I thought someone would have gone, quite a nice vehicle. But that's never the case, is it, with buying a Range Rover? So when I first saw this pop on Facebook, now bearing in mind I was looking at Auto Trade and so on, this is a class of vehicle I've never been to. I'm used to Facebook Marketplace finds, maybe the odd eBay purchase, but mainly the cheaper the better. So when this popped up on Facebook, I was a bit like, do I really want to buy one off of Facebook? Bearing in mind sort of previous experiences, and the fact I was looking for something that was full service history, really, near mint condition, and something I could really enjoy. But this popped up. Issue being, it was in Northern Ireland. Not a main issue, because one of my good mates, my fair-haired, ginger Irish friend, Chris, he was over there, so I thought, it's not too fair. In some ways, it's actually easier than going up to, like, Yorkshire for one, because I can get Chris to pop and have a look at it. So, that wasn't a major issue. And what sort of stood out to me on this advert for this vehicle was the fact that this vehicle was in Havana Bronze. Now, that's quite a rare colour. It's also a very lovely colour. And even more so, the interior was the tan, which again, really rare. Something different. Now, every L322 I've owned has had black interiors. Not a big fan of the ivory and cream ones, because after a number of years they look terrible. But the tan was another level. Very controversial, but I loved it. So the outside colour, the interior colour, the mileage was on, I think, 112,000-ish. You know, perfect. That's spot on. And it was sort of fairly priced at £13,000. Now, supposedly it had been serviced and whatnot, so I sent my blind friend Chris along to have a look at it, which he said it was all okay. There was a camera that popped up on the test drive and so on, but other than that, it all seemed pretty damn good. So, without seeing it myself, I agreed to spend the money, and I sent over £13,000 to some random Northern Irish person in the hopes that the Range Rover I was going to buy was going to be as described and as expected, which has never ever happened with a previous Range Rover I've ever bought of any of them. So this would be a first. The only one I haven't seen, and my most expensive one. So I drove it back. Chris picked me up actually in Ireland, so he drove it to Ireland. I jumped in, and then we drove back to Northern Ireland. So my first sort of hours driving this thing was like a honeymoon period. It was bliss. The only error on the screen was low screen wash. Now, I can deal with that. That's minor problems in a Range Rover world. All good, fine, whatever. We got back to Chris's. We serviced the gearbox, serviced the engine, went over a few small bits and bobs. And then on the final night before I was leaving to drive back to Cornwall the next day, which is a fair old drive, suddenly that evening I lost all cameras, navigation, audio, rear screens, just all the entertainment basically disappeared. I was like, oh no, I've got, I can't remember how many hours it was driving the next day. Many hours driving. So I was a bit scared at that point. Either way, we traced it back to a fibre optic issue with DAB module, unplugged that, plugged it back in, and suddenly it just kicked back into life. So that got me by. Thank God. But the rear screens still didn't work. And that was just one issue. On the way to the ferry, we're driving down. It was frosty outside. I think it was in the minus temperatures. And it wasn't getting warm in the cabin. It was fogging up, and it was only cold, cold, or cold. Great, so we had no heating as well. So, by now I've got rear screen's not working, I've had the whole entertainment play up, we've got no heating in the cabin whatsoever. I'm getting a bit concerned if I've just bought a lemon here. So, drive it all the way back, onto the ferry, all the way back home, done a load of miles, load of time driving, and actually, it was fine. It didn't miss a beat on the way back, one bit. It was over the moon. Now, with typical Range Rover things, that wasn't the end of repairs. Nope, I had a airbag start to leak, so I had to replace the airbag. We had to fix the heating issue. I had to fix the washer jets that weren't working properly. I've had to fix the side steps, it didn't work at all. I've had to fix the front camera, that didn't work. In general, just do things that you'd expect to work and should have worked, weren't working. So I've done all that. Thought I would risk taking this to Germany. Why not? Now that's the whole reason I bought the 4.4 SD8 V8 to be honest. One, because I previously had one of these in the L405 and I loved the engine. Hated the complexity of it, but actual torque, performance, smoothness, almost unbeatable. And I thought for a Germany trip, that is the perfect engine, despite breaking down on my last one in Germany. So what happens? Obviously suspension issues before Germany. Great. I ended up getting not one puncture, but two punctures on the same tyre, which I had to repair on morning before I left for Germany. And then whilst over in Germany, took this thing around the Nürburgring. That was fantastic fun. Loved every minute of that. And actually, on the ring, it performed exceptional. Put it in sport mode, and we had the tyre squealing. And she was going. I was well happy with this thing on the ring. But that, of course, created another issue. After that, I then had two coolant leaks. So there I'm in Germany, looking at these coolant leaks, determined that one was coming from the engine, but there wasn't much I could do about it at the time, and one was coming underneath the side steps, which is obviously coming from the rear coolant pipes. Again, couldn't do much at the time. As they're only minor, I sort of left them to it. When we eventually got home, no other issues, perfect. I decided to look at these coolant leaks, and yes, the side pipes I've had to bypass because they were corroded, common issue. And then I started looking into the issue at the front. I was rather concerned because I could not get to these pipes. The front of the engine, working on this engine full stop is just a nightmare. But the front, particularly bad as well as the sides. I managed to remove some boost pipes and joints at the top and some other coolant hoses, enough to see that hose was sitting in the wrong position down below, and by doing that, what had happened is it had then rubbed into a pulley and it had been eating a hole into a coolant hose. How that didn't let go in Germany all the way back, I do not know, but I'm ever so thankful that it didn't, because trying to repair that in Germany, well, I've had to use a joiner, because replacing the pipe is, I think it looks like a front end off job, and it's just not practical. But I managed to get a joiner on it, was fortunate it didn't go off in Germany, and I've moved the pipe back to where it should be, and all is good. Not only are these things super comfortable and super smooth, they're also pretty damn quick. So just in standard mode, bit of lag there on the turbo, but for a 2.3 ton machine, they are pretty damn rapid. Luckily, because I do all my own work and I've sort of taught myself to work on Range Rovers over the years, it's not a major issue. You know, there's probably nothing on this car I couldn't fix. There's a lot of things I wouldn't want to fix. I wouldn't want to touch the engine, to be fair. But there's nothing I actually technically couldn't fix on this vehicle. So I've got the tools to do it, I've learnt my knowledge, and I'm always happy to expand. This brings me on to sort of, is it worth it? Is it worth buying an L405? So I think this car is summed up pretty well in, like I sum up every other Range Rover purchase. In my opinion, you have to be one of three things to buy a Range Rover. You either have to be rich, you either have to be stupid, or you have to be handy. Now, I'm not rich, but I am stupid, and I have found myself to be handy. So providing you fit sort of like any one or two of those bills, well, I guess 2 really. L405 ownership, yes for you. If you can use tools, diagnostics equipment, if you're capable of diagnosing things and diving into electrics, and you're happy to get your hands dirty mechanically, then why not? An L405 is a excellent purchase. Now, I could go into a whole other video of how this compares to an L322 and what it's actually like owning an L405 and the cost of it. But for now, yes. Is it worth buying an L405? Certainly is, especially with the prices of these sort of now coming down quite a bit. I say £13,000, that's a lot more than an L322, and that's on the cheaper end of these things. But yes, they are lovely cars. They are packed with technology, and it's so much more refined than previous generations, and the electrics are so much more up to date. They are just nice places to be, and they are great vehicles to drive when working. So I've obviously been asked, why not the 3 litre, why not the 5.0? Well, the 3 litre for me is just no go whatsoever. I know a lot of people have a lot of success with them and they're absolutely fine. There is more of a 3 litre engines on the road between the Jaguar Land Rover platform than any other engine. There's also a lot more of them blown up than any other engine because destroy the cranks. Cranks, bearings, all that, the bottom ends of them are not good. And somehow Land Rover decided to keep using them and the same issues still occurred. The mind boggles. If it was rubbish back in 2005, why are you still using it in 2020? It doesn't make any sense to me, especially not when warranty work costs them, but whatever. I know a lot of them are fine, and again, with these vehicles, the most important thing with any of these engines is to service them and over-service them. You know, if you neglect them, it's going to cost you. Or you're going to shift it on and the next unsuspecting buyer is going to get screwed over, which is just, yeah, not good. However, I do have plans to sell this one. Not because I don't love it, actually more along the lines because I've almost finished fixing it. So almost all the issues are gone with this car now. And for the kind of drive, I mainly bought the 4.4 because I'm going on a long road trip. For the kind of driving I'm going to be doing for the foreseeable, the actual 5 litre supercharged tickles the spot. And I'm actively looking for one. I'm not sure yet, low mileage. There is a very high mileage one up for sale, nice green one. I've been tempted with it, but do I want to spend the same sort of money on a high mileage as a low mileage? I am not sure yet. But I'm certainly after one, but I don't want a black one. I don't want a black interior really, so that's actually made it really hard to find one, especially in a budget. But I am definitely looking out for a 5.0 supercharged just because why not? And of course, it's just your interior in these things, absolutely lovely. Actually, my favourite part would be that. Now, the Meridian surround system on this one, which is the second level, which is the standard in autobiography, it's insane. Easily the best audio I've ever heard in a vehicle. It's crazy. Yes, so my next one, I really want to be the signature system, which is, this is 825 watts. That goes up to like a 27 speaker or something like that. It is 1700 watt system, which I can imagine is just phenomenal. But yeah, these things really are just the pinnacle of luxury for the sort of average, I guess, semi-rich consumer. They're not Rolls Royce, but they certainly do freaking set a standard for an SUV. And that's it. So my 8th financial mistake is still doing me proud, costing me money, but working nicely. Now this one here might be on a little trip up to Wales to pick up a new van in a few days' time. And then, yeah, I'm actually looking to sell it and get a 5 litre supercharged. So, yeah, I'm not sure if you guys want any more videos on this before it ends up going. Obviously, any repair videos, I'm still doing it, I'll record. But whether you want a financial breakdown on how much it costs to own a Range Rover or what these are like compared to the equivalent L322, then I'm happy to do that. But until then, obviously, thank you for watching. There is all the content already on the channel for all the repairs and buying this L405. Plus, there is 50 million other videos on repairing and buying L322s and videos on my Range Rover classics. So, yeah, if you're new to the channel, why not stick around? Subscribe for plenty more. Obviously, like the video, that helps a lot. Drop me a comment. That definitely helps a lot. Tell me what you think. Would you buy an L405? I think I would do again, and I'm going to again. So, but I am stupid. Also handy, apparently. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and drop a video hype. That's a new thing. I didn't know about that, but that helps as well. So yeah, I've been Jordan, and I'll see you again. Cheers.